Fort Myers admits coliform bacteria in city water. Here's what you need to know. Alarming water quality discovery. Fort Myers finally addresses months-old bacterial concerns. In a surprising revelation that's raising eyebrows across southwest Florida, Fort Myers city officials have admitted to procedural oversights following the discovery of elevated coliform bacteria levels in municipal water testing conducted last November. But here's where it gets interesting. Even some city council members were kept in the dark about these findings. First Ward Councilwoman Teresa Watkins Brown's reaction captures the communication breakdown perfectly. She only learned about the situation through a mailed notice, expressing her surprise. "I just opened my mail and saw the letter. I didn't know about this." She subsequently directed media inquiries to Public Utilities Director Richard Moulton. The city attempted to address public concerns through a legal notice published in the Fort Myers News Press on July 11th. The notice specifically cautioned pregnant women and immunocompromised individuals to seek medical advice regarding their water consumption, a detail that naturally raises questions about the timing of this disclosure. Here's what you need to know about the science. While coliform bacteria themselves are typically harmless, according to the EPA, their presence in high numbers can signal something more concerning: potential E. coli contamination, which can cause serious illness as it originates from fecal matter. Justin Mahan, the city's environmental specialist, provided crucial context about the handling of the situation. While the Utilities Department did follow protocol by retesting within 24 hours with negative results, they failed to initiate a required Level 1 assessment, a comprehensive water quality investigation triggered when more than 5% of monthly samples test positive for coliform. But here's where things get controversial. City officials attempted to resolve the situation by sending a letter to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, FLDEP, suggesting the positive results were due to laboratory or human error. The FLDEP, however, deemed this explanation insufficient. The city maintains an aggressive testing schedule, conducting approximately 90 tests monthly, and emphasizes that subsequent testing, including recent June 13 samples, showed no bacterial presence. Officials insist the water was and remains safe, with no reported illnesses. Yet questions linger. Why weren't council members informed during the initial discovery? What caused the delay in public notification? And perhaps most importantly, how can citizens trust the system when even their elected representatives are left uninformed? This situation highlights a critical debate about transparency in public utilities management. While the immediate health risk appears to have been minimal, the communication gaps exposed by this incident merit serious discussion. What do you think? Should there be stricter protocols for informing both officials and the public about water quality concerns, even when they're deemed false positives? The story continues to develop, with many residents and officials alike calling for improved communication protocols and greater transparency in water. Fort Myers water crisis, what you need to know. Imagine discovering that your city's water might be contaminated. That's the startling revelation coming out of Fort Myers. The city has openly acknowledged that it failed to adhere to retesting protocols following the detection of significant levels of coliform bacteria in its water supply last November. In a surprising move, Fort Myers published a legal notice, revealing that its staff did not conduct the required retesting for the bacteria by the December deadline. The city's rationale? They believed the initial November samples were flawed and, as a result, took no further action. However, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, FDEP, strongly disagreed and insisted on a retest, which the city finally carried out last month. Thankfully, all 9 samples from this retest came back negative for coliform bacteria. But here's where it gets controversial. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, while coliform bacteria are generally harmless, Elevated levels can signal the presence of E. coli, which originates from fecal matter and can lead to severe health issues. This raises a crucial question. How seriously should we take these initial findings? In the legal notice, Fort Myers advised individuals who are pregnant or have weakened immune systems to seek medical advice if they have any concerns about consuming the city's water. This precautionary measure highlights the potential risks, even if the later tests were clear. Interestingly, some city representatives claimed they were in the dark about the issue until they received a notification letter. Councilwoman Teresa Watkins Brown expressed her surprise, saying, "Fort Myers water contamination alert. Residents demand answers." Residents of Fort Myers are demanding clarity regarding a delayed alert about water contamination, raising significant concerns about public safety. Last November, city officials acknowledged that they did not adhere to established protocols after water samples revealed the presence of coliform bacteria. Although the city conducted retests within a day and found negative results, they failed to perform the necessary follow-up assessments within the mandated 30-day period. This critical evaluation was not completed until June 2025, a full 6 months later, after intervention from the Department of Environmental Protection. Sarah Burke, a concerned resident of Fort Myers, voiced her dissatisfaction with the timing of the notification. "They are only informing us about this now. The public deserves immediate notification in such cases," Burke stated, reflecting the sentiments of many in the community. She received a letter from the city on July 11th, which added to her frustration. A spokesperson for the city reassured residents that the water remains safe to drink. However, Burke remains troubled by the procedural oversight. Councilman Fred Burson became aware of the situation during a city council workshop and commented, "I believe it was merely an oversight. More importantly, the testing was conducted on schedule and the water was confirmed to be clean. There was no real danger to the citizens, aside from the lack of proper notification." Burson also recognized the potential dangers if a similar incident were to occur in the future without timely communication. If the water were indeed contaminated, it would be imperative to inform the public immediately, he emphasized. He noted that following discussions with Mr. Moulton, the city has taken steps to ensure that any future test results will trigger automatic notifications rather than relying on manual processes. Interestingly, the city suggested that weather conditions might have played a role in the positive test results from last fall. During a recent city council work session, officials explained that the city collects 90 routine compliance samples each month to monitor the quality of the water in its distribution system. In November 2024, an unusually high number of samples tested positive for coliform bacteria. In response, the Fort Myers Public Utilities Department retested within 24 hours, adhering to protocol, and those results were negative. However, the Level 1 assessment, which aims to identify potential causes for the spike in positive samples, was not completed until June, and the public was informed of this delay through the Tier 2 public notification process. This notification was disseminated not only in a daily newspaper, but also included in all utility customer water bills. The city reassured residents that the water was safe throughout this period. In a follow-up with Wink News, the city elaborated on their approach to positive test results, scrutinizing all possible external factors that could have led to the contamination. These factors might include nearby water main breaks, boil water notices, sampling errors, laboratory mistakes, low residual chlorine levels, or backflow incidents. In the case of November 2024, the city noted an unusual event where 3 positive samples were collected within a 2-hour window on a single day. However, follow-up samples taken immediately afterward showed no bacteria, and all samples had adequate chlorine residual, with no known breaks occurring that day. The city reached out to the laboratory that conducts their sampling to inquire about any possible reasons for the positive results. The lab suggested that adverse weather conditions could have influenced the results, recommending that they be invalidated. Consequently, the city proceeded under the assumption that the samples were improperly collected and did not accurately reflect the state of the distribution system at that time. In May 2025, as the city prepared to finalize its annual Consumer Confidence Report, CCR, it sought official approval from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, FDEP, to invalidate the samples. However, on June 10th, the FDEP informed the city that it would not approve the invalidation. With the CCR deadline approaching on July 1st, the city opted to complete the Level 1 assessment on June 13th. The Tier 2 public notice, which informed the public that the city had exceeded the maximum time frame for completing the Level 1 assessment, was published in the newspaper and included in all July water bills.